What's up, everyone? You were listening to the Build Your Vision podcast, the podcast that helps you get to where you've always wanted to be, because every visionary needs a plan. This is episode 64, and on today's episode, I have with me Chloe Cleaves, and we're going to talk about branding with purpose. Look, as a visionary, an entrepreneur, a creative, having a personal brand is important for establishing yourself as a coherent, professional, and trustworthy person. It's how you speak without saying anything. Chloe is a founder and CEO of Chloe Branding Company, but she more so identifies herself as a visual branding director and a branding educator. And she is a boss at it. If you want proof, go check out her Instagram. Her handle is in the show notes. Check it out. You will be blown away. She's amazing. And she takes us on the journey of her vision story, and she perfectly intertwines into kind of a branding 101 lesson, which I love, and is something that we can all use. Now, let me ask you this. Have you left a rating or review yet? Have you even subscribed? If the answer is no, then this is either your first time listening or you're just hard-headed, because I know I've told you this before. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review. I would appreciate it so much. It helps people get a glimpse at the show without having to go through all the episodes. It helps with our ratings on the iTunes podcast listings. I would just greatly appreciate it, and everyone else would too, if you could just leave a rating and review. Just scroll down to the bottom of the episode log on Apple Podcasts, and boom, there it is. It's easy. And if you've been sharing the pod and evangelizing the BYV message on your social media platforms, thank you so much. You are truly appreciated. And if you like this episode, please feel free to share this one as well. Tag us on Instagram at Build Your Vision Pod on your Instagram story. All right, that's it for me. Let's get into branding with purpose with Chloe Cleaves. Intro music, here we go.
Loading.
It's a case study for success.
Be teachable.
What better way to learn than to just ask?
The learning process becomes a journey,
turning dreams into realities.
Part of execution is totally believe in whatever you're doing is going to work.
What are your passions and what are your gifts? And that's where it really starts.
Chances are for taking. Take a chance on yourself.
Any and everyone is capable of being a leader.
You're not going to have all the answers immediately.
Wow. Mentors to expose you to things that you otherwise wouldn't know.
It was all I thought about and dreamed. Like I would literally get up in the morning, practice, because I knew the time would come.
Just do it.
Town called Ideal, Georgia. Nobody's heard of it. It's okay.
Ideal.
I'm okay with Ideal. And like, it's people used to be really corny. They're like the ideal place to be, and I'm like,
yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
like no, there's more animals than people. Wow. No. But I grew up in a really small town. But the good thing about stuff like that is they're very close knit. But there's also the downfalls. You know, as soon as one bad thing happens, it travels. So you can find the value in a community like that, but at the same time, there's a lot of downfalls. So my mom wanted to kind of get me away from that at age, I think I was about 15 when we moved to Atlanta. But growing up every single day, she just said, do your best to be your best. Like I never had like that specific pattern. I went through the phases of, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. You know, I want to do that because I also have an older family. Like everybody in my family was at least like 30 or close to when they had kids. So my whole family is older. So they operate on an old school mindset.
That's exactly like me. I've always been the youngest.
Operate on this. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like even being the youngest cousin, I'm just like,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
And so my whole family's like my uncles, because I didn't really grow up with an active dad. My uncles, they would always be like, no, you got to do something that's going to make you this money. So they were always just like, just go to the military, or they wanted me to have a stable job, like just be a teacher. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do any of that. So for a long time, I was stuck into the fashion design sector of things. Like I really got into that. I started drawing these little Bratz figure looking people and all that stuff. So I draw a little bit, not as much now. But yeah, that's really kind of how everything all got underway, up until I wanted to do fashion design from age 8 till about age 17. After that, I was president of FBLA at my new high school that I moved to. And I was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then you could not tell me I was not going to go to like Miami or Parsons in New York or FIT or something like that. Then I was just like, then after I really got into FBLA and understood business, I was like, no, not doing that either. And then on top of that, I wanted the college experience. Because if I was going to go to art school, I was wholeheartedly going to an art school. Right. But the thing is, I wanted that experience I wanted, football teams and sports. And you don't have that at art school. Like if I ever decide to join any different organizations, like that's not what art school's about. It's just come get this art, pay all this money, and you're going to be bomb. And then I thought about it. I'm like, there's a lot of designers out here that don't even have official design degrees. It's about having the right mentors and, just having that raw talent. So I was like, if I decide to pursue this later, I'll come back to it. But growing up, my mom just said, well, whatever you do, she didn't really tell me what to do. She just said, do your best to be your best, like throughout like age like 3 until still to this day, because she doesn't really understand the full aspect of everything I do, branding. Like she's still trying to understand branding because she's a nurse. Like she actually doesn't want to have her own business. She actually doesn't want that responsibility of filing your own different paperworks and understanding. So everything that I'm doing is new and most of my family doesn't understand it. So I grew up not saying they're not supportive, but they don't get it enough to be like, oh, that's great. So I have to self-motivate. And I'm an only child too for my mom. So at the same time, I have to know how to drive self if nobody else can. And I've grown up having to have that mentality, and I still have that mentality.
Wow. Yeah, I relate completely to that story. I'm pretty sure lots of people that listen to this show will relate too. Just trying to have people understand. I'm actually going to do a little bit more on this, some episodes in the future about having to explain what you do to other people that don't really understand like that realm of things.
That by itself is a challenge. Like even clients I have, they're already hired me and they're still asking me, okay, so what are we doing? I'm like, I'm like, why am I here? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So it's hard.
So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. And then, so did you end up going to a liberal arts 4-year college?
I ended up going to Georgia Southern University, real GSU. If anybody's listening from Georgia, we have this whole Southern Georgia State debacle. Loved it. I loved every minute. The Black community was very close at Georgia Southern. So it was kind of like our own little HBCU. Now that I see my HBCU friends, I know that it does not compare, and I'm not trying to. Do I wish I had went to one? Sometimes. But I don't regret any experience from that school. I ended up getting a marketing degree with a minor in information systems. So I'm kind of a computer nerd at the same time, which is how I kind of got into what I do. I had started building websites right before college, and my web design teacher in high school was actually the one who recommended me for Southern and got me in. So all good.
Cool. So when you were in college, is that when like the vision started to come into place? Because you said that you wanted to go into fashion design and things like that, and then you were like, nope, don't really want to do that. I'm going to go this route.
Still didn't want to do what I do now. Nope.
Really?
Still had no idea.
So
Completely
when
confused.
did you, like, what was the process of you trying to kind of like figuring it out? Because so many people want to have it all figured out now, but it just doesn't work like that. Like, how did that work?
Let me tell you, you're not going to have it figured out. I'm passion driven. So every day I just follow my passion in a certain direction. So like I said, I ended up with a marketing degree, minor in IS. And when I graduated, I was like, okay, everybody thinks marketing is sales. So I'm like, God forbid I ever be a salesperson, because they get on my nerves. I'm not trying to get on nobody else's nerves. So I'm like, don't want to be a salesperson. And then I was really trying to even understand the idea of marketing. The same way people ask me about branding, I'm just like, marketing? What? That's how I was back then. I get it now. Even with that marketing degree. So I was just like, okay, this ain't it either. But I got a corporate job. They moved me to Wisconsin as soon as I graduated. I lived there, Chicago, Dallas, which is how I do a lot of business in Texas still to this day. And I was working in the marketing department of a corporate marketing company at the time. They were a print company. So kind of like, what do we do? That's the best way I can do it. Okay, so you know how you have Vogue and all these magazines? So we printed those. Like I could literally go down to the press, go get them off of the printer.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, like before they hit any stores, it was definitely some perks to that. They had amazing benefits, like amazing. Like I did not have a care in the world, did not have a worry in the world. I did a lot of product development with them. When they moved me to Dallas, I did a lot of specialty work. So when it came to understanding like foil stamping. So all the things that I produce for my clients now is what I was helping them with. I moved up in the company really fast. And then then they wanted to move me back to Wisconsin to actually be in the official corporate office of marketing after moving me around. And I ended up telling my boss, I was just like, I don't have the passion for this, to be honest with you. I'm not going to give you the level of work that you want. So even though I didn't have a plan, I branched out on my own. While I had that corporate job, though, I was doing styling and blogging. So before influencing was a term that it is now, like before it was such a big deal and what everybody and their mama wanted to do, I was actually reaching out to really small businesses, new boutiques. And I was just like, hey, I have a new blog. I just really want to help you. I see you don't have any photos. You're using a lot of stock photos. Like how people brand themselves, I didn't even realize that was always something that would either bother me or intrigue me, depending on how it was done. And I never paid attention to that in myself, because a lot of people think passion is supposed to be something you just like to do. Now, all of a sudden, you're making money from it. But it's deeper than that. Sometimes you won't know your passion immediately. And I'm here to make sure people understand that. Like I had to find it. Like I didn't realize I was dissecting commercials or figuring out what places were doing wrong, and I was just like, they just do this wrong. Da, 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 da. I wasn't thinking, let me reach out to them and see if I can help. Let me see what I can do. So I was just having small businesses send me clothes, and then I would style people, and some people liked how I dress. So they would just be like, I just want to dress like you. So styling started to get on my nerves because nobody wanted to be original. They were just like, I want to wear what Chloe got on and that's it. And I'm just like, no, and then they didn't want to pay. Like styling's one of those things, especially starting out. Like once you're a celebrity stylist, I think people know that you charge. Yeah. But it's like as a small stylist, it's kind of like, they're just like, like I just wanted to see what you think about this skirt with this. And then people just get really creative on how to ask you to help them. And I'm just like, no, like this ain't gonna work either. I had like a couple big clients, but I'm like, it's not big enough to sustain me or anything like that. So I was like, let me just figure it out. So I started over and I moved back home in 2015, which is when I had left my job, like literally top of the year, January, came back home. And I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And that's when I really was like, okay, well, this blog thing has to work because I'm not good at working. Over the years since then, I think I went back to corporate 4 times and quit every time because I was just like, no, this is not my life. So here we are today.
One part that stuck out to me that I want to kind of back up on is that transition from college to your corporate job. What was your mindset going into that? Like, were you like, I don't really want to do this, but the money's there, the benefits there, the outside affirmation is there. Like, what was your mindset going into that situation?
Of coming out of college?
Coming out of college. Yeah. Or was that like what you actually thought you wanted to do?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Like I actually was like, okay, I have a marketing degree and I'm like, this is the actual corporate job where, I won't be in Walmart telling y'all try this, know, because that's when a lot of the marketing jobs, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, but when you're applying for jobs, you get a lot of those inquiries from those little marketing companies that are just like, just stand in Sam's Club. We got a product and it's from, it's 6 days a week. Like, no, because it wasn't that. And I made it all the way through. Like, this was literally my first job interview, and I made it all the way through. They came to a job fair. Round 1 was the interview. They did it at the school. I did it before they left. Round 2 was a phone interview. If you made it past that, round 3 was they fly you to Wisconsin to see if you're a good fit. So yeah, and that was my first time getting on a plane. So that job like had a lot of significance to me. So I was just like, okay, this is clearly supposed to be the job, that I'm supposed to be with. So I was interested in it. I did feel that I loved it in the beginning. But at the same time, I was kind of like, oh, I'm graduating college, so I'm supposed to have a job.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then do you think that that job or that transition into corporate space prepared you for what you went into later, or was it
definitely
okay?
Definitely. I took something from every single position I had. Whether it would be knowledge, sometimes I'll grab a couple materials because it's stuff that I needed at the house.
Yeah.
Just being real about it. But whatever I felt like I needed, I definitely felt like I got from that job. Like I prayed on everything. Every time I made a move, I prayed. I'm not really the person that like I plan, but when it came to stuff like that, it was pure passion. It was just like, I can't be here. I can't do this. This is not conducive to my energy type of vibes. So I didn't have no savings. I had whatever was going on in my life. I'm like, I'm just have to work it out. God has had my back throughout this whole process. He continues to have my back day in, day out. So I'm like, I just have to go. So I felt like I got things from there. I definitely took lessons from there. I've self-taught myself, but what I could take from a corporate setting is what I took.
Cool. And that transition from corporate to entrepreneurship to on your own could be even more terrifying than the transition from college to corporate. So what was that experience like on all levels, like financial, emotional, spiritual, like
Oh, it was hard. Like that's a cliche way to put it, but that's the hardest that's the best way I can say. Like when I left my last position that I vowed to be my last, and it has been my last for about a year, God had already been telling me to leave in different ways. And so he was like, I had this boss at the time, and he was of Asian descent. It was mainly an Asian company. I was making great money, highest paid I've ever gotten. But the problem was apparently there's this thing in their culture called power harassment. To where, so it's kind of like verbal abuse for us, but he was one of those people where he was power tripping and he didn't even realize it. Like he had already had complaints throughout the company, but the job he had was so tedious, they wouldn't fire him because nobody else would do it. Like he was there before everybody else, left after everybody else, literally did spreadsheets that had like 500 plus lines all the time. Like his whole job was reports. Like, and he didn't really talk to anybody. Like, it's like when you walk past his desk, all of the jovial conversation stopped.
Right. Ooh.
Like, it's like you get past him, you tell people, meet me in the break room. Like you're pointing, like, see you down there type stuff. And it just got to the point where, it got to the point where stuff he was saying, and you know me, like not saying I'm a mad Black woman by any means, but I'm a Black woman. And what you're not going to do is talk to me any type of way, disrespect me. I can be very cordial about it. I even tried to go to HR and they would still try to put it more so on me because it's more valuable for them to keep him than me. So I didn't really care. But the thing is, they knew that and they were just like, well, we don't understand why is happening. I'm just like, no, like pull the emails. Let me show you all the stuff that he said to me. Like he's that person. Like, and at one point got to a conversation where I'm like, look, I'm trying to understand what you're asking of me. Let me do this. He's throwing papers in my face. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like it got out of control. So God was like, okay, you don't need to deal with this. Like every day I'm going home like mad. Like I'm like, I need a drink. Where do I need to go? Like I'm over this but I'm just like, I need the money. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They get stuck in that mindset that you need the money. Now it's different when you have kids and like other obligations, but I'm like, I'm single. I don't have no kids. No, like I'm gonna have to just thug this out on my own. My mom lived 40 minutes away. If it really gets that bad, granted, God forbid it has not gotten that bad to where I go back home. But at the same time, it's like you have to really figure out what do you have the power to change. And that is everything. You literally have the power to change everything. So it was the end of the month last year. And so when he did, I said, depending on how he responds to this email, I'm just going to go ahead and put in my resignation. I can't even take it no more. I had my first speaking engagement scheduled. So I was like, okay, like this is a sign that the day before that needs to be my last day so I can go into that day clear headed. And so I put in my resignation and he chose not to respond at all. Of course not. So I'm just like, okay, well, I hope he knows that that's been accepted. So then the next day I'm coming to work regular. Like I was already prepared for whatever it was going to be. But then the next day my car broke down. I'm talking about like broke down to where you kind of need a new car. It was because it was a head gasket.
Ooh.
So yeah, so it was a pretty serious deal. So I didn't even make it to work. So I sent him, first I called. As you should. I called my job and I said, okay, I'm not going to be able to make it. Can you let him know? They were like, okay, well, for use his phone. And I know he was there at his phone because he never leaves his desk. Like he literally went to the bathroom maybe once a day. He was so like tuned in. And it was the beginning of the morning and I knew he was there and he forwarded me the voicemail. So he was that person where he's like, okay, if you're going to quit, I guess you're not going to get to talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing. Mind you, like I said, this is the last day of the month. So God really wanted me to go into the new month clean. And so I did that. And then I said, okay, let me text him too, just to make sure that he knows. Like I even sent a picture like, hey, I'm on the side of the highway. Like, I don't know what you want me to do about this. And then he still didn't respond. It never said deliver. He had an iPhone, so he blocked me on top of that. I'm just like, how unprofessional can you be, though? Like, you haven't even responded to say, okay, your resignation's accepted. We'll talk tomorrow. Nothing. Like, he would get such an attitude. And I'm like, you're too old to be acting like this. Like, he had a very nasty attitude. He'll laugh with you sometimes, but his attitude was 10,000 times worse. And so he didn't respond. I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, I still left a voicemail. And I just went about my day. When I finally got my car picked up, I said, I can go into work, but something was like, you don't even need that. So I spent the day breathing. And then the next day I went in there prepared. It was the first of the month now. I went in there prepared for whatever was going to come my way. I get to the door. I had to lift to work because my car. I get to the door with my badge and it doesn't even work. So on top of that, they had just went ahead and let me go.
Right.
Yeah, like while I was, I guess he was like, never mind. And then the secretary, she leaned out the door. She came around. She was like, hold on. So she comes to the door. She leans around. She brings me up in box. Like they already done took all my stuff off my desk.
Right.
Everything. And she was like, did nobody call you? And I'm like, no, you sent me to his voicemail yesterday. So no. So they didn't even ask for my badge back. Like I still have that badge and I'm going to keep it as a signal, as, significance for me.
Right.
But that was the first of the month. And I spent that day just like getting my head together. And I was like, God was really trying to get me out of this place. Like he broke the car down, was like, nope, you're not going there.
Right.
Like now he's telling me like, no, you're not coming into this job. Like, and a lot of people think that, one door closes, another door opens, but I had to open my own door. And at that point, and that's the difference. So a lot of people ask, like, how do you know when to quit? Sometimes you don't. Like, you have to know when you need to pull out of an energy and what's best for you and how hard you're going to go. So.
Wow. Yeah. He was like, it's time for you to transition into another phase of life. And sometimes if that doesn't happen, if something like abrupt doesn't like shake us up real quick, like we'll just keep hanging on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to be uncomfortable.
Right.
To grow. And that was like the perfect example of that for me. To this day, I still look back and I'm like, wow, like God really was like, girl, no, you need to go on ahead and get out of here.
Right. So when did you start to develop your own business? I thought when I was looking at your page, it kind of looked like you were having like a fashion blogger type thing. And then I saw it kind of transition into this branding thing. So what was that metamorphosis like throughout and when did it start?
It was a natural transition, actually. Like a lot of people still follow me for fashion. Like I still get invited to fashion week shows and everything. I think that's a part of me that goes into my personal branding. And that's why I still try to, dress the part no matter what my blog post is about. Like I'm not really let me show y'all how I look chilling at the house. Like, no, I like a bum. Like I put stuff like that in my stories. Because I do want people to still get a sense of me, but I want to keep with my roots because I still love fashion. I still love to dress nice. I still love to be seen and things of that nature. So I just try to still keep that as a root. And that's why with visual branding, I tell people all the time, like, people should understand your story before they even know you, which comes with the visuals. It's just like when you're meeting somebody, nobody talks to somebody and wants to know more about a person they think is unattractive.
Right.
Not one person.
Yeah.
Like, whether one person is more attracted than the other to another, like, there's still something there that even makes you want to allow that conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To come in. So it's the same thing. Like, if your pictures aren't a certain way, like, I know that's what has always appealed to my following because that's where I started. So I still, like, now I do incorporate more lifestyle imagery, but I still keep with the root of, you got to dress nice. Like, that's my base. That's my foundation. And, you know, people really do know about you before you walk in the room. So, you know, and even my purple hair, like, that's significance of me leaving that job. I told myself, as soon as I leave corporate America, I'm dyeing my hair purple. And I actually went ahead and dyed it right before that job. So it's been purple almost close to 2 years now. Because I just went ahead and did it. And then, like, if I felt like they had a problem with it, I'll just put a black wig on. You know, like, my hair's been purple for a while, and it's my own significance of freedom. So now God's like, nope, let that purple hair out, you know, make it go with your outfits, make it work for you, whatever. And so now a lot of people remember me based on that.
Cool. Okay. So when did the business start to kind of take off, or when did you realize, okay, I could do this?
That's a great question. I've gotten that question before and I still have no answer because it kind of came naturally. Like, when I was still reaching out, I was still trying to do the whole, like, I didn't understand how influencing worked really. So I was still reaching out to businesses like, hey, let me wear your clothes, send me some stuff. I'll put it on the blog. I'll send you the photos, all that. Like, I didn't know that was a business because I've been doing that since like 2013. Before everybody was like, I'm an influencer and I want to be an influencer because I get free stuff and I get to travel and all that. Like, no, I was really just out here trying to help these small businesses. So I would just kind of start asking them in advance. I'm like, do you need a website too? You know, like, I can really put this all together for you. And that's why most of my clientele is probably women, because I would be like, you know, I'll take the pictures and I'll go ahead and put them into the site for you. Just to make it seem easier. I would try to show them, like, okay, this is the difference. This is why you need professional photos. This is why standing just in front of any wall doesn't always work. You know, a lot of people, I get it. You know, you're doing what you can, what you have to start off with. So I was really trying to make affordable packages to where they didn't look like another Instagram boutique. Because me personally, with my money, I don't trust that. Like, don't tell me, oh, give me your email, I'll send you an invoice. Like, I'm like, there's too many free websites out here to do that. So now I pitch that to people.
Right.
Along with my packages. So, but I still do the whole, you know, send me stuff. But now people reach out to me. Like, I don't really do the self-pitching anymore. So any collabs I have, they reached out to me and were like, hey, you know, we want you to do this. This is what's included, XYZ. But it all started with me knowing how to do that and telling them, like, hey, you need the full package.
And when it comes to branding, and I mean, it just so happens that this is your story because this is what you do. But when people have this vision of something they want to do, lots of thing I see is like they have this thing in their mind, but other people don't know about it. So it kind of really doesn't really matter. Like, if it's all in your head, no one knows, like, it's not going to grow if no one knows what you're doing. So I always encourage people to put stuff out there, like start doing things, start telling people what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to branding yourself as a visionary, you have this thing, passion project, business idea, whatever it is. What is the first step someone should do as far as like setting up their personal brand?
I think you need to first understand the value of what you're going to add to people's life and the avatar of the client that you're trying to reach. And I say this because a lot of people they think personal branding is like, I just want to be everything me. I like pink, so my colors are pink. I do this, so I want this to be this. And I'm just like,
right,
that's cool and all. But once you start branding, you have to see what's going to reach them. Like, if you're telling me you want to help men and women, but your favorite color is pink, you've already X'd the men out.
Right.
So, you know, because they're like, it doesn't mean they're not comfortable with their, you know, sexualities or anything like that. But if they see a pink logo, they're automatically like, let me tell my wife,
right,
you know,
exactly.
let me do this or something of that nature. So I try to keep all that in mind, like really write it down. Write down what's the lifestyle of your ideal client. Like, write down Are they middle class, upper class? Do they have kids? Are they married? Like, what do they do day in, day out? Like, I tell people all the time, if you're posting at 5 p.m. when everybody's in traffic, some people, even though we're not supposed to be on our phones, some people are probably might look. But at 3 o'clock, people are trying to get through them last 2 days, and you're wondering why your 3 o'clock post didn't get any likes. And I'm like, because everybody's working. Like, even people who don't have jobs are working at 3 o'clock. Like, at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be doing something attributed to work.
Right.
So it's not the most conducive time. Like, really understand not just your Instagram analytics. A lot of people are getting too caught up in that, but understand the people themselves. If you got to go out, put out some legwork and be like, what are you doing at 5 p.m.? Like, send out a survey somehow, whatever. But you need to figure out exactly what they do, what they like, and how you can get their attention. Like, my favorite color is not mustard. However, i.e., I have it on. However, it's a color that men wear, women wear. It's cohesive throughout the seasons. Mustard goes great with neutral tones for fall, as well as you can wear it with jean shorts and, like white things for summer. So it's kind of just like that color that's for everybody. And that's why it's also warm. Like, it's a shade of yellow. Like, it's warm, it's inviting, it's positive energy. So I thought about all that when I was picking personal brand colors. So I tell people, really think about these things before you're just like, oh, I have a brand because I have a logo. Like, the logo is usually actually like step 5.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And I definitely struggled with that when I first started. Like, literally my page was just like everything that I like doing. Like, I was like into music. I was doing like animal voiceovers. I was doing podcasting. It was just a mess. And I was looking at it.
Animal voiceovers. Oh, God.
Yeah, I was doing everything. Those were doing pretty good too. I don't know. Maybe I'll get back into it. But it'll mess up my feed now. Anyway, but I was doing that and I was noticing that like I wasn't really grasping to any type of specific audience of who I was trying to help. And lots of people, they have this vision for themselves and they think, if I'm going to achieve this lifestyle that I want, it's about me. No, it's about who you're helping, who you're providing value to. So that mind shift of like me realizing, oh, I'm here to help others. That's where my success is going to come from. If I'm providing value to the world, not necessarily showing what the world, like what I have to offer. It's kind of a mindset shift about that, of how you think about it. And going into what you're doing now, I kind of want to get more into so the listeners can know as well. What is branding brunch and where did that begin?
The branding brunch is my baby.
Yeah,
that is my baby. Like, it's by far one of my favorite things. It's actually my passion project, I think. It's a business too. Is its own entity, but it's definitely a passion project for me because the branding brunch is I know a lot of people don't have the budget for branding. I do have clients that they've literally just been saving, their whole life to be like, I know I want to do this. I want to do it right. I want the right people in place. I saved my money, and that's the way they tell us all that we need to do it. Like, have your money, do this, da 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 da. But the branding brunch it's a very intimate premiere experience. I try to give it a different feel based on every city that I'm in because I want to connect with each city individually. And that's a big part about branding too. Like, what to expect from the event, but at the same time you don't, because I try to make it fit. So Houston's a little bit more flashy than Dallas. So it made sense to have it at Saks where I still had like that whole clean vibe. First in Dallas, we had a private venue where we made it cooler because in Dallas, it's kind of like, everybody, they move at their own pace. They're a little bit more on the carefree side, even though they can have flashy moments too. So I try to cater to that. I invite special guests for each city, usually 3, that I feel like are a good representation of different forms of branding. That way they can feed off of what I'm saying. But the branding brunch, you receive actually a brand planner. So it helps you understand branding, but at the same time plan your life, because a lot of people don't understand how much your life is the brand. Because people will follow and connect with who they like. Yeah. So that's first and foremost. They get a brand planner. We have a workbook that we actually go through during brunch. It's actually the basics of branding all the way through. And then you also get like different gifts from sponsors and things of that nature. So the branding brunch is exactly that. We're talking branding over brunch. So you get bottomless mimosas, you get the food, that's cool and all, but I'm literally breaking it down, like the legals of branding. What do you do with branding? How to look at your ideal customer when it comes to branding? What are good branding items? Like, why does your packaging need to look a certain way? Like, just understanding, because branding is really an experience. It's not the logo. It's not your brand colors, because Nike doesn't put everything in orange. Like, they have plenty of other stuff. So, you know, even though we know that box is usually orange or black, depending on the shoe and all that. But that's what the branding brunch is. So I do maximum 20 people per city. It's not meant to be a big brunch because I don't want to market or sell to everybody. And you got to also realize with branding who you don't want to market or sell to. Like, a lot of people are like, well, cool, they paid, I'm good. No, that is not it, because that might be negative money, which is negative energy to your business. And it's been a few times where it'll be a client where I would have to cut them off. I would give their money back, and then my business would grow again because I no longer was connected to that money. So money is not all things. But yeah, that's what the branding brunch is. It's pretty intimate. I like people to I like to give people access to me. I don't like being that hidden piece or anything like that. Like, I don't want everybody to have access to me, but at the same time, I want to be able for you to come to me directly, ask me a question. And that's why I keep it small, because I want it to be like that. It's not a panel. The special guests are not sitting above, because even to me, that's like a representation. It's like you're sitting on a panel. So you're usually on a high stool or, you know, or something like that, looking out at the people. No, we're all at the same table together. If anything, I'm standing up because I'm speaking, but it's a collaborative experience. It's a connecting experience. You're feeding off the people who are next to you and across from you, you know, and then me, because I'm going to make sure my energy radiates throughout that room, wherever it is, or that space. So that's what the branding brunch is. It takes a lot of thought. Because like I said, each city is different. It's not always just, oh, I know I'm gonna have it at this venue because it's white. And no, like I have an event planner. We talk about what is the culture of that city. I look at the people I'm inviting as a special guest of that city, because I want it to be conducive for them too. And the reason that I do that is we all have influencers and celebrities we like that are all over the place. However, it's kind of like, I'm not going to fly somewhere to see somebody just for a couple hours. So I like to use people who are in that city. That way it's like, dang, okay, I never even get to go to events with this person. Yeah. You know, and now I can talk to them. I can touch them. Like, they can tell me about what I can do here. And it makes more sense, because most people, you will start where you're planted, which is whatever city you're in. Right. So I try to make sure everything is branded to wherever that space is, but the materials are the same. I chose black and nude colors because I do want guys to feel welcome. This is also why I made it a luxury experience, kind of like a wedding, but it's a brunch. Yeah. You know, with a luxury experience at a wedding, it's not really for man or woman. Of course, the wedding is for the woman, as the old saying goes, but, you know, there's men there too. Like, people are bringing their plus ones. Like, the groom still has the groom side of partying too, you know? So it's the same thing. Anybody can connect to that aspect of things versus everything being pink, and it's too much.
That's really
But that's
awesome.
what the branding brunch is.
Yeah, it's like a super classy, intimate workshop type thing.
Pretty much. That's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah. And how do you go about finding the guests that you bring in?
Honestly,
curious.
I'm just blessed because I don't do any marketing.
Really?
Like, this is me posting. I tell the special guests that I invite to post. Their followers come because they want to meet them. My followers come because they want to meet me. And right now I'm doing the cities that I'm connecting with the most. So I looked at my Instagram strategies. I'm like, okay, well, these are the cities where I have the most followers. So it would make sense for me to start here because at least I know I have people from those cities looking, even if they don't tell anybody. So I don't even do the whole, you know, Instagram's like, boost this post for $5 or whatever. Like, I don't even do any of that. So whoever comes because I actually want an organic table of people. I don't want it to be people who just kind of like got marketed to and now they're here. They don't really know why they're here, but they're here. So like in Houston, I had a couple people that came from me, and then like 2 of the 3 guests were like really big public figures and influencers. So they were like, yeah, I found out from such and such's page, and they only had to post it a couple of times. So I really like organic everything.
So how do you reach out to the other panelists or speakers? Not really panelists, but other people that you have with you?
Some of them follow me, but most of them have not. Like, I just told them like, hey, I've been following you for a while. My name is Chloe. This is what I do. This is what I'm inviting you to do. You don't have to speak. This is really for you just to be interactive. I give them a breakdown of the brunch, just like I gave you, but in a more formal manner. Sometimes it's through DM, sometimes it's through email. And they're just like, I would love to. So it kind of just goes like that. They come, they get the same experience as the guests, and it works out.
No, that's awesome. And I kept prodding and asking that because some people feel like they have to have like money or collateral or super influence to do these type of things. And I was trying to figure out like how exactly you maneuvered around it. Like, was there some type of value proposition or whatever? But you really just got people who were in the same space and had the same type
the same space. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you even follow the right people, like so many people, they're looking at these people with these large followings and they just see this pedestal, this invisible pedestal. Whereas it's like, if you actually just talk to people as a professional, when I first started out, I would tell them like, look, I don't have XYZ to offer you, but this is what I'm trying to do. This is what the guests get. I'm down to give you this. Most of them would say yes, because I'm about to be on the 6th one in Chicago coming up. Got to get all my details together. But when I first started, I was very honest about that. Like, I didn't try to sugarcoat, and they're like, no, I love what you're doing. Some of them have even heard of me before already. So it's kind of like, or they have people that they know that have worked with me already. Mm-hmm. So there's never any animosity or like, oh, I wonder what she does type of thing. Like, I reach out to people who I feel like connect with my energy. That way we are on that one accord throughout the whole process.
Got you. And as with any visionary or with any business person or with any creative, there's ups and there's downs. And I want to know if you're okay with sharing, what's like a challenge or failure that you faced in your process so far that you have, like what was that like for you?
The biggest failures, well, I wouldn't even call them failures. It was more so lessons of helping me understand I like to understand planning. So I tell people now to really sit and plan because that's what I didn't do. Not saying that I did anything wrong, but like I said, I'm very passion driven. Mm-hmm. But passion driven you can also incorporate plans, and some I incorporate them when I could, but not as much as I could have. And I would say really plan, like especially when it comes to pricing, because when I first started pricing things for myself, I was doing it by the seat of my pants. I was going by, look, I got this bill this month. This what got to get paid. So I just got to get an invoice out for this. And now it's like the problem with invoices is you don't even know if people are going to pay them for real, even though you're sending them out. Like, you can send out an invoice. The person be like, I'm ready. Send it to me right now. It's still optional for them to pay that invoice. Like, they do not have to do that, no matter how much time you would spend on the phone. So I would spend all this time on the phone with people as a free consult. And then I'll say, oh, yeah, it's 20 minutes. And 20 minutes will quickly turn to an hour because I really just like to help people and educate. So I had to really understand, like, okay, what are my processes going to be? Because when I didn't do that, they would be done got all this information from me. Now they're not paying the invoice because they feel like they can do it themselves. Like, I look at people now where we done had conversations. They'll say they'll be ready in like a month or so. Now they've taken all the advice I gave them in the consult and did it with somebody else, and it still looks cheap. So I'm just like, you'll be back eventually still. So my advice would definitely be to really understand like what type of income you need for yourself. If this is all you're going to be doing, understand the type of clientele you want. That's why I say do your avatar. Make sure you are really looking at the type of people you do and don't want to do business with. Think about ways to prevent having to do so much work, because that's still man hours that you put into sending out invoices if they're not getting paid. Like, you're supposed to get paid for all of your time as an entrepreneur. So you need to figure out how to do that. So plan, study, take as many free webinars as you need to, go to as many networking events, ask as many questions, but figure that out first, what your structure will at least look like to start, because you're always going to change it. But do some research and really figure it out first is probably the best advice I can say, because that's the only thing I didn't do. Everything else I just understood.
Yeah. I've been hearing that a lot throughout our conversation. I might shift the title of the episode and might position it into passion and planning or something. I don't know, because that's so important, because we have this idea and then like you know, people are like, oh, go for it. Go for your dreams. You know, take action, blah, blah. Yeah, that's cool. But, you know, you got to have some type of strategy. I mean, or else it's just going to take you a lot longer. It's just going to take a lot longer. So, like, doing your market research, figuring out who you're trying to cater to, figuring out what exactly the last episode, an important part the person stated was like, you have to be able to articulate what your vision is to yourself first, before you can even articulate it to someone else. Like, you have to know exactly what you're trying to do. And that changes a lot too. I've shifted the title of this podcast already because it didn't fit where the direction I was trying to go. And that's okay to figure that out. But you have to know exactly what you're trying to do. I shifted the name because I shifted my purpose of what I wanted the show to do.
Right. And that's what I tell people. Like, you have to know what you're putting out there, especially with branding. Like, that's why I tell people I'm specifically, and I'm kind of shifting away from so much design. I'm shifting more into visuals, because people come to my page, they're like, all your pictures are dope. Like, how does your page look like this? And so I'm more so helping with like the visual campaigns. And so now I'm only offering design for people who I've helped them fully with their visual strategy, from the pictures to, you know, everything, because things like that matters. Like, I've had clients where we'll go through the whole process, then we plan the photo shoot, and then they'll say, I just want to cancel it, and I'll get somebody to take pictures of me with my phone. I'm not using that on your website. You're not putting my name on that. So, you know, that's another thing too, to tell your followers, like, really understand what you will and will not put up with, because you'll actually do better and make more understanding your own limits versus just doing it. Like, I could easily just say, okay, cool, that's fine, you know, and still put my name on it. But when people go to it and now your site looks fraudulent because you use stock photos mixed with some pictures outside.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't look the same. And I've showed a few people some sites, and they were like older, and they were like, yeah, like, I know you did it because the design is dope, but from these pictures, I would think it was one of those Chinese fraudulent wholesale sites. And that's the last thing you want people to think, because that's stopping your sales. Like, people would literally say, I love getting outside opinions. And I tell people, get an outside opinion, like, from somebody who's unbiased. Don't tell them it's yours. Just kind of ask them what they think. And I do that because I need to know where I'm at with my branding. And I'm finally at the point where when you see my work, you're like, oh, Chloe probably did that. Or when you see a picture, you're like, you directed this, didn't you? Because it's kind of like you know there's a story behind whatever that brand is. So
yeah, how do you
really know what you're selling and to who?
How do you how do you go about getting those outside unbiased opinions? Like, who do you reach out to?
I just ask. Like, sometimes I'll just ask somebody that I see at Starbucks, or you know, like, with me being the only child, my mom's like, look, if you don't talk to nobody, you're not gonna have no friends. Yeah. So because you don't have no siblings, I don't know who you think about to have your back. No. So whenever I'm somewhere, or I might just ask another client about another client's project, not tell them I did it, not tell them my client. It's about what you put out there. And I'm just like, what do you think of this? And then depending on what they say, then I say I did it, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But I literally won't say that till the very end.
Right. Got you. Okay. I'm just trying to figure that out too, because that's sometimes something that people struggle with. Like, every opinion that they get is in some way biased. Like, it's kind of hard to completely go out and find something, but you kind of just have to go out and do it. And I'm trying to figure out the different ways people could do it for whatever they're into. For you, it's, you know, graphics and design and branding. So
whatever it is, just do it kind of like you would do a cold call, you know, like, you don't know who's on the other end. You don't know what it is. Like, just ask people, or even just like, some people are really using Instagram as an outlet. Post something and be like, what do y'all think? Logo 1 or logo 2, you know, something like that. Like, you don't even have to say too much about who it's for. Just maybe put the concept out there. Like, you have to get creative. Like, sometimes I'll put a concept out there, even though it's for an actual client, I won't use that actual client name. Right. If that makes sense. That way I can really get a real opinion. And then when they see me roll it out for a client, oh, you know, it makes sense. So you just got to find ways to take your branding off for a second, just to get a real opinion. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And you said you were kind of wanting to shift away from design and go into visual. I'm not completely like familiar with that lingo. What does that exactly mean?
Well, I do a lot of directing. So now most of my time I'm spent at photo shoots, because with me doing visual stuff, like, I say I'm more so into visual designing because I don't just design things. Like, even the way you cross your arms is a difference. Like, how your posture is in your photos is a difference. If you're telling me you're a lawyer that has won this many dollars and, you know, you're confident, but you're slumped down in your chair in a picture,
Gotcha.
that doesn't tell me that. Like, I'm literally making sure, like, even a small thing, it might be a difference between looking forward versus looking up with a smile on your face. Like, I'm literally there nitpicking in ways that you be like, oh, because, you know, you get your pictures back. You don't want to be like, dang, like this picture would have been cute if I would have just smiled instead of did this face.
Yeah.
Or if I would have been looking this way. Oh, can we? And then instead of making the photographer trying to edit your eyeballs to be a different way, like, you know, that's what I'm there for. And that's why I say for my clients now and what I'm shifting to with my new brand, it will be required for me to fully execute your project. So I am going to still do design, but I'm not going to offer it a la carte anymore.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because some people it's too much when people are like, I just need a logo. And then next thing you know, it's on a strip club flyer and you're like,
right. Yeah.
This is not the brand we talked about. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't want to have to fuss because I actually coach my clients through the process. So usually branding is minimum 6 weeks, and that's bare minimum. And that's if you do want logo and even like a 1-page website, because most of the people come to me, they don't have pictures because they're expecting me to give them the type of quality pictures that I have. So, you know, I have to, now I know, and you're going to keep developing this throughout your career, throughout your process of your business. You're going to keep saying, this is what I will and will not put up with. And you just have to figure out, though, what that looks like for you. And you can't just keep accepting, oh, well, I'm just going to accept this because, you know, she has money, so it's cool. Like, no, those be the people that'll bite you in the end.
And that's
so
when
you just got to figure out.
Enjoying what you're doing too becomes work instead of, you know, you just having fun doing what you like to do.
And honestly, that's what had happened, because it was just so many emails. Like, I'm just checking on my logo and I'm just like, in my space, you have to be creative in so many different ways. Like, even as a designer, because it's like, we'll like to do something and then we show it to you and then the client don't like it. It's like,
yeah.
Because with my clients, I tell you why. Like, I design, that's why I make sure we figure out your clientele first and then I'll design. And I tell you why it's effective for that design, not just what you think is cute. So it's a lot, and they expect us all to be so creative. That's why sometimes we got to work outside. Sometimes you got to take a day just to sleep, reset, and it's too much. But when I connect with the brand in full and I have creative control, I can work magic. And those are my best projects that will be coming out, where we did start to finish photo shoots, packaging, website, logo. And then you'll be like, that's branding versus, oh, I got my logo done and then I just put it on a shopping bag.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's good. Shoot, I might have to reach out to you soon because, you know, and
I'm gonna have your back. I got you.
I'm sure lots of other people. I'm gonna put all your information in the show notes so that people can get in contact with you after listening to this. So that, you know, I'm pretty sure some people are gonna want to reach out. But as we drawing this to a close, what was one of the biggest successes that you've had so far in this journey for you?
Biggest successes, to be honest, is every time somebody rolls out their website or open their branding brunch box to see all the stuff that's in there. And then they learn that, like, because even everything in that box is hand done by me. Like, I bounded the books together. Like, I have a binding machine at home. Like, I really put my heart into what goes into the branding brunch, into my businesses. But every time I see the faces and people pull out their phones just to take a picture, or the fact that people nowadays do come up to me, I'm not saying I'm famous by any means. This is not to be cocky. But when people come up to me, I follow you. Like, even if they can't think of it, they'll be like, wait, let me look. Hold on. And then they'll go find me. And they're like, oh, my God, I didn't know you lived in Atlanta. I always wanted to meet you. And, you know, stuff like that. Like, that gets me every time. Because I'm just like, me? Like, I actually purposely stay in the house. Like, I am not because I'm a homebody, but I really just like my space. Like, I like peace and quiet. So when I do go out and I'm just like, okay, so my work is not in vain. You know, like every time you realize that your work is out here, or when I have designer friends that are, they're friends that I've looked up to for a long time. And then I'm all of a sudden, now I'm in a group me with them. And I'm like, like I'm fangirling in my head. And, you know, now they're like, hey, I just always wanted to tell you you're dope. I'm like, who? Me? like those moments do not get old, because I don't really put out there every single accomplishment. I don't oversell myself. Like, I'm really just like, you know, enjoy the pictures. I'm glad you like them. Like, I'll come speak. But when those moments and you see the light up of people's face, that's my success moment. Like, it's definitely that.
Yeah. And you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, But if you had, let's say, a time machine, Back to the Future or something, and you could go back to old Chloe, it doesn't matter what age, just before now, what would be the advice that you would give her, knowing what you know now?
Ooh, girl. I'd be like, okay, girl, keep working out, first off. 'Cause, and this would probably be Chloe right before I graduated, because I also graduated in 3 years. So my life's track has always been a little faster than most. I went into college at 10, came out at 13, and I was just like, and I wasn't really thinking, like, I was just like, I just want to be done with school. Like, I would have went back and probably told her to take that time, not necessarily to take my time in college, but maybe get another perspective of things. Like, maybe see if there's another degree I would have tried, or things of that nature. Plan out your life, like, because I don't think there's ever a way I would have figured out that I would be doing what I am today. So I wouldn't try to say hurry up and figure it out to old Chloe or anything, but I would definitely tell her to, like, really sit, really think, know who you are, because I was really just doing everything on a whim every time. And that's the only thing I probably would have changed different, like just making better decisions. Because you're in college. Like, you're just like, I'm in college. Like, you're not fully thinking at that stage in your life.
Yeah. But
if I could have been, I know that my life probably would have been a little different. I actually might have been at this stage a little bit quicker, but I still enjoy my journey.
Awesome. And I don't know why I had this brain knot, but I was like, wait, you went to college at 10 and came out at 30? Yeah, the year 2010.
The years.
I was like, what in the world?
The years. I was supposed to come out at 14, but I literally finished exactly May 13 instead of May 14.
Got you. Okay, cool. And last thing, if you had a billboard sponsored by Chloe Branding, and everyone that went past on that highway could see that billboard, what would be the message that you would want to tell the world? What would be up there?
Oh, let me see. I saw this question. I still had no answer an hour ago when I read it. I would want some type of quirky saying about visual branding, probably. Something that's kind of like, first they see it, then they want it, then they fall in love with it. Because that's really the process of anything. Like I said, that's the process of when you meet a person. First, you see a person, they look good. You want them because they look good. You get to know them, and then hopefully you fall in love with them. And that ends up being your love story. I feel the exact same way with branding.
That's good. That goes for life too, man.
Exactly. Like, that's kind of like the thing that I would put up there, because that's the easiest way I can break it down when I talk about branding to people, and it still makes you think about life. Like, that's the process of everything. That's how you buy a car, whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's good. That was it. You bossed it.
Yes, I'm always for a boss move. Everybody knows that. I love boss moves.
All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed that episode with Chloe Cleaves and have gotten a deeper understanding and grasp on what branding really means. I hope you're inspired by her vision story and able to take some parts of what her story was and relate it to yours. If you want to connect with Chloe and check her out and check out all her work, her info will be in the show notes. You can just click all her handles and links down there. You can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn for more vision casting and vision building content outside of the podcast. My social media handle will be in the show notes as well. And lastly, if you want more info on vision casting or have any questions that you want answered, you can check us out on buildyourvision.co. I will talk to you guys on Friday. That's right. I'm coming back with the Friday episodes. Just wait on it. But until then, keep building your vision every single day. Peace.
Hey guys, Clee here. Thanks so much for listening to the Build Your Vision podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would think you did if you stayed all the way to the end. The best thing that you could do to help support this show is by sharing it with somebody. By you just taking a few seconds to recommend this show to somebody, you are making a huge impact, not only on the success of this show, but possibly on that person's life.